We're on to I believe it's verse Surah 19, somewhere in the middle here. So the same thing applies with time, right? We have no time whatsoever. That's a guaranteed thing because there are again so many. If you don't have money, you do have time. So someone say, "Brother, I don't have a job." Okay, can you make phone calls? So yeah, there are so many people who need help. There's so many people who are about to shoot themselves, right? People who are just broken in their lives. They just need somebody to call up and say, "Hey, can I help? Give me some advice." They need people in their lives, etc. So many people are just super lonely. Yeah, somebody needs somebody to go through a list and make sure that makes sense, right? So either you're engaged in your fard, I'm doing what I need to do, or you're helping other people, right? So there's no such thing as extra time, and there's no such thing as extra money. That doesn't exist. Right? That's a concept that's not correct. So Surah Maryam. So Surah Maryam, what does it begin with then? It begins with this the destruction of Bani Israel. That Bani Israel is just falling apart. And in the middle of it, we see the reason. So it begins with Sayyidina Zakaria making this dua, say, oh Allah help us, oh Allah, we're lost, or it's all going down the drain. And just come down to Surah Kahf, Surah Maryam 19. Okay, it starts off with this concept, and it starts off with the righteous family. Okay, and then right in the middle, there's a very key thing, and it says, evil successors. So it mentions these different family, Ibrahim, Sayyidina Isa, Sayyidina Maryam, Sayyidina Zakaria, all these different prophets. And then it says, but they were succeeded by generations who neglected the prayer and followed their lusts. Right? And so this is the doubt. This is what's wrong with the ummah right now, is that we don't care about religion and we just want to buy stuff. Right? So how does that lead to the death of people? Right? It's quite simple. So stage one is you have your himma and your ambition is tied to one thing, which is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. This now drops from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to Jannah, which is not a problem. If you love Jannah, that's fantastic. If your whole aim is Jannah and getting to Jannah and being safe from the hellfire, that's fantastic. But you've dropped from a level, which is Allah Himself, to Jannah. And then you drop from Jannah to halal dunya. I just want halal dunya. What's wrong with halal dunya? Right? So people don't understand this. Hubb dunya, loving halal dunya, is a disease. It's actually a disease. And it's a cancer. It's a stage 1 cancer. It's not a stage 4 cancer, but it's a stage 1 cancer. And so people think, oh, no, the Prophet ﷺ said you can have things of the dunya. You can have things of the dunya while not wanting them. So there's a difference. So for example, you drive a nice car, but you don't care about it. If it got scratched, your heart wouldn't change at all. Because you drive it because it's functional, because it does X, Y, and Z. You have nice food because it's good for you, because it makes you happy, but you don't care about it. Like if that DoorDash person didn't deliver the food, you wouldn't care. You have no interest. You earn good money because you want to do lots of good things. And if that money didn't come in, you wouldn't care. As opposed to you love your car, you love your whatever, you love your money, you love your food. You get ticked off, for example, when the coffee isn't exactly as you wanted it, right? When they mix up your order. That's called hubb dunya, and that's not good, right? That's not good. It's not healthy, right? One of the Salaf, I believe, Hassan Basri, he said, I know people for 40 years, they've never asked their wife to make a single thing. They didn't ask, I'll make it like this, make it like that, because they don't really care. They're not actually interested in the dunya at all, right? Layth ibn Sa'ad, he only ate food with other people. It's just a means, right? It's just a means to eat with other people, right? Once Imam Ahmad, he was with one of his companions, and they were at someone's house, and there was this big cake in front of them. It was really expensive. It was clear that it was a very expensive cake. And his friend was like, this isn't good, this is like dunya. And so Imam Ahmad, he said, I wish the whole world could be spent on a cake and given to a guest. Meaning, I don't care about the cake, but when somebody spends on their guest, it turns it into ibadah. It's a really good thing, right? So they don't care about the cake, they care about honoring the guest. They don't care about the car, they care about doing a job properly. I'm picking up the mayor for crying out loud. Like I need to pick him up in a proper car, it can't have problems, it has to look good, etc. Whatever it is, right? You're doing a function. So hubb dunya is a problem. Now this person goes down from love of the world to love of the haram dunya, right? And they love the dunya whether it's halal or haram, right? And now this person, when they're asked to obey Allah and to change, they're not going to do anything, right? So we look at Gaza right now, it's like very simple. The whole Arab world immediately could stop it. All these kids could stop dying, all these women could stop dying very easily. But who is willing to no longer be a billionaire? Nobody. Because you know that it's either if I get involved, I might get shot. If you get involved, he'll get shot. Whatever, something's gonna happen to me anyway. So basically, that you drown people in the dunya, and then they can't say no anymore, right? They can't say no anymore. You pay people out. So love of the dunya, and again, we were just talking about donations. Love of the dunya. This is where it all starts. When you function in a way that we have kafaf, I have enough that I need. I have a car that I can drive without it breaking apart. I have a house that works. I have this and I have that. Then you're all fine. But when the person starts living in luxury, that's when it all goes down the drain, right? Who is it? Jabir radiallahu anhu, he's walking down the street. I told you this maybe last week. He's walking down the street and he has a bag of meat. And Sayyidina Umar sees him. He says, "What's this?" He says, "Oh, it's a bag of meat." He says, "Why did you buy it?" He said, "Ishtahaytuhu." I just wanted to. It was a want. He says, "Oh, kullama ishtahayt ishtarayt." Do you just buy whatever you want? So yeah, what's wrong with that? Like, why can't I buy whatever I want? And he hit him on the head. Like, imagine being hit on the head by Sayyidina Umar, right? Like, so that's. I mean, is it halal to hit somebody on the head? No. So that means Sayyidina Umar, he was saying, number one, what you're doing is wrong. Number two, what's the Ummah they're gonna follow you in this? They're gonna say Jabir did it, right? So there's Sufyan al-Thawri, he said there's one thing there's no israf in. There's no israf, which is in women. Right. So somebody spends, for example, like, why do you have four wives? Isn't it expensive? So yeah, but that's a good israf. You spend a lot of money because good israf. It's productive and reproductive. It's good for society. It's a good thing to spend money on. Whereas anything else is not a good thing to spend money on. You're just wasting, right? So you have like you don't need, like I mean, I'm not talking about myself, but like basically, here's my iPhone, right? This is iPhone 8. I didn't need it before I came to America. I got the iPhone 8. This is now falling apart. I got the next iPhone, right? So you don't need to have whatever iPhone 16. There's no reason for that when people are dying, right? There's no reason for that whatsoever, right? And so we have to have this mentality, which is these are people who neglected the prayer. They didn't come to the masjid. So we're going to see after Ramadan, Fajr's empty again. May Allah protect us, right? And then وَاتَّبَعُ الشَّهَوَاتِ, and they just did whatever. They just had this culture of buy, right? It's cool. I'm on the phone. Why are you on the phone? What's wrong with the phone? So their mentality is it's not haram, therefore it's okay. That's not a right mentality. That's not the mentality of the Salaf. Mentality of the Salaf is you're going to die tomorrow. What have you done? You have no time. You have no this. Let's go, as opposed to, oh, it's halal. What's wrong with it, right? And so, there's a key concept to understand that these people who diligently follow their lusts. So they're on TV, they're on ads, they want to buy new shoes, they want to buy this kind of thing, this whole mentality. This is what leads to people being killed in Gaza. Simple as that. You have a whole group of people, a collective people, and they have no will to challenge a tyrant if that means there's a single risk to their lives, to their dunya, because they cannot. They're addicted to the dunya, right? So it's like you tell this drug addict, you say, if you do this, you're not going to have your hit tonight. He can't deal with it. Like he has to have that. It doesn't matter what. So now he will sacrifice everything. He will kill his wife. He'll kill his children. He'll rob, steal. It doesn't matter because there's one goal in his life, which I need to have that hit. Like that's my whole, that's his Kaaba. That's everything he has. So now everything is destroyed around him. He doesn't want to destroy people. He's not trying to kill people, but that's what happens, right? And so all of us, this is how we are with our phones. Like, why do you keep checking your messages? right? You know, the joke is, what is the prime minister about to talk to you or the president about to talk to you? No. So you check your message, that's called an addiction. Like you can't say no to it. Or you get a ping and you feel something. That's called an addiction. Like you're actually addicted to the phone, right? Or you're addicted to buying, or you're addicted to whatever it is, like buying accessories for things, or all of these kind of things. Like you're very particular about your car, you're particular about your coffee, you're particular about your clothes, you're particular about anything that is not, you're particular about your clothes because you're going to work. Like I don't look like an idiot, you know? You checked your mustache 3 times. It's like, no, because I need to be presentable at work, right? Whatever it is, that's fine. As opposed to, but I really don't care, about any of these things because I'm dead. Tomorrow I'm going to be dead. Like, so it's not an issue. So this is a key concept that comes up again and again and again, and it particularly comes up in Juz Amma and other surahs that are Makkiyah about the dunya is not the way of the believer, right? It's not the way of the believer. You have kafaf. I have enough money to hold back harm, right? You shouldn't be in a situation where you don't have enough money, right? That's not good, right? You should be in a situation where I have enough money and I can do this, I can do that, etc. I remember, for example, it was one Ramadan, I was working for this organization. I was working for this organization and I was working 10 hours a day, 6 days a week. It's like, there's a lot of work. And I asked the sheikh, I said, Sheikh, like I pray Taraweeh, but only just, it's like, this is insane. 6 days a week, 10 hours a day. And he said, good. I was like, how is that good? He's like, you're making money. Like you need to make money. Like you're a young man and you have mom and a dad and you have this and you have that. Like you need to make money. So he was like, he said, was it make hay while the sun shines. Like you're doing something good, right? But there's kafaf and then there's luxury. Like you don't need that, right? And so we live, for example, America and many things. It lives on a basis of luxury, right? Here is some coffee, like $5 coffee. Like you actually don't need coffee. Like certainly don't need $5 coffee, but it's convenient, it's this, it's that, right? Do you want to get this car or that car? Just get this car because whatever, right? This a way of living. This is not Islamic. Now, I'm not saying you should be in a stupid situation. You don't have a car that works. Oh, I'm relying on Allah. No, you're stupid. Like you should get a car that works, right? It shouldn't be the situation where like every 2 minutes you're calling people, oh, I have this problem and that problem. It's not worth it. You should have a car that works. You should have a house that works. You should have health. What you can't, but if you've got health insurance or whatever it is, like you've got something that works. Oh, I can't afford to send my kids to a good school, right? Let's say, for example, I lived in Jordan, and in Jordan, yes, there's free education, but you don't want that free education. So it's like it is a necessity. Like you do need to make enough money to send your kid to where were you? Uh, at the what was it called, the school? Not Banat al Ghad. You were Amariya, right? His school was like a stone's throw from my house. Anyway, so that's a good school, right? It costs money, and you need to make money. It's like actually you have to make for Jordan, you have to make quite a lot of money in order to send your kid to like a decent environment. Otherwise, it's going to be really bad. It's like a really bad environment. So like, oh man, so I have to work a job and a half or 2 jobs in order to do kafaf, in order to hold back harm, right? But there's a big thing difference between holding back harm and excess, right? Excess is not good and it just destroys us. And then when the time comes to do what is right, we can't do it because we are just abna dunya. We just love the dunya too much. We can't say no to the coffee. So, for example, Ghazza came along, right? And we know all these company organizations that support Israel, right? And so it's like, oh man, I can't do that, Amazon, right? Like Amazon and who else? Amazon and Google and Google, right? They're like properly involved in developing like military software to like really kill people. It's a big thing. It was called the Nebulous or whatever it's called. What's it called? Nebulous? Nebulous, something like that. Or was it Apple? I don't remember. There's a whole project basically. There's a kind of a whole like cloud thing that they use, and it's like so it's like, oh, I can't survive without Amazon. It's like if that's your job, like I don't have any other job apart from working for Amazon. I understand, but it's like it's just excess, but you can't do without it, right? Or I can't. So this is an attitude. Like so if you can't boycott certain organizations because it's an inconvenience to you, how are you going to fight and defend them? Like, you're not going to do that, are you? Right? You're not going to do that when it's an issue of the Dajjal and when the issue of the Dajjal and the
Nimbus.
that was Nimbus, right? So the what's it called with the Dajjal and the Mahdi, you're going to be on the side of Dajjal because that's how it is, right? And when I got married, my brother made this point. He said, I said, what do you think about America? He's like, what do you mean? What do you think about America? I said, yeah, what do you think about America? He says, well, it's the land of the Dajjal. Look at them. They all have big houses and big cars. That's what it is. Like Dajjal, he promises you the dunya and he'll give you the dunya. And that's what it is. That is how it's going to be. You join sides with the Mahdi, your wife will die of starvation, your kids will die of starvation, and you will die of starvation. If you join the sides with the Dajjal, your wife will survive, your children survive, and you'll be healthy. He'll cure you of all your mental problems and your back pain and every single thing. And Zuhur, he'll be like young as ever. All these miracles happen. Everything will be rosy, right? Like I live in Rose Garden. I was like, when my dad was alive, rahimahullah, I was like, he could never, ever come to America because America is what's called California. It's like Pollyanna. You know the phrase Pollyanna? You heard of it?
Yeah, I heard it before.
Yeah, so Pollyanna, something is she was an individual, I think it's a show or something like that, some kind of show in the 60s or 70s. But Pollyanna she's this lady who is ridiculously positive, even though things are really, really bad. Right? So you come to America, it's like racism, violence, you're bombing the whole world, you help all these things, and yet we live in Rose Garden. I live in Rose Garden, right? Like Rose Garden, it's just a fake place. Like how many people probably died there, right? They came in, killed 90% of the Californians, and then said, hey, it's now Rose Garden, right? You know, just like the plan for Gaza, they're going to turn it into what was it? The diagrams they had, like we're going to turn it into this kind of like international places. Like, are you psychotic? Like you're beyond psychotic, right? The blood of children? That's what it's based on. Like, how can you be happy, right? It's like a really messed up place, right? A really messed up place. So so this is how things are, right? Is that it all starts with a cup of coffee. That is like your philosophy. Like, can you say no to the cup of coffee that's going to cost that much money? Right? So there's a difference between a cup of coffee for yourself and a cup of coffee with your wife. That's different because you're serving a goal, for example. People around us need dunya, right? You can't starve your children. It's not going to work, right? But for ourselves, we can say, I don't need, you know, my car's totally fine. My As long as does my phone work, yes, fantastic. I don't need a new phone. I don't need whatever. Any of these things. So they follow by a generation or generations of people who neglected the prayer, or another translation could be neglected the synagogues. So salawat also means the synagogue, the Jewish temples, right? So they didn't come to the masjid anymore, right? So they're not here, they're in the streets of Brentwood, right? Doing things that are halal. It's not an issue of doing things that are haram, just doing things that are halal. They didn't come to the masjid anymore. They only came on Friday. And I don't have to be here on any other time on Friday. And they just buy things because they can. I have the money, so I'm going to buy it. But that led to the next stage, and then prophets are killed, and then they try and kill Sayyidina Isa, and then it's all over. So it all starts with a way of life, right? A way of life of that you should have kafaf, you should have enough, but that is it, right? That you don't need to have more than that, unless you're saying, oh, no, I'm going to earn money for this reason. Like I'm actually a businessman. I can make 5 businesses. Each of these 5 businesses can spend on this, this. Right? I can make an orphanage and a business that will support that orphanage, and they won't need any donations. I can build, for example, someone like Ahmad, for example, like I have a plan. I'm going to make 6 what's this company? Cold stones, and it was going to support 5 masjids. And they're never going to have donations. They will never ask for donations. In fact, they'll be giving donations out. That's as a plan, right? But that's not because he wants money. It's because he wants money he wants to spend money in a clever way. So yeah, I'm saving this money. Don't come and ask for donations. I'm opening 6 other coal stones, and each of them are going to support this orphanage and this orphanage and this orphanage and this orphanage and orphanage. It's all covered, right? So this is how we need to look at money. Is that it's either we're receiving because we don't have enough, or we are giving because we have enough, right? One of the two, right? Khair. And the dunya is in our hands, but not in our hearts. We never care about it. You don't care about having it, We don't care about not having it. You made $1 million, you lost $1 million. Really, it's irrelevant, right? So the dunya is like this. It's like, hey, did you know there was an asteroid in the what's the planet that has a belt around it? What's it called? Saturn. Okay, why are the Afghans so clever, right? He knows about Pollyanna. He knows about, right. Prophet ﷺ, he said the Afghans and the Iranians and Afghans, the Furs, right? They have a himma that if Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala sent something to Pleiades, right? This called the Thuraya, like they go and get it, right? They have himma, mashallah. No, I told him, I briefed him before. Not joking, right? So anyway, so it was saying Saturn, right? It has this belt. So like, would you care? So we care the loss or the loss of money or the gaining of money is like, oh, there was one stone hit into another stone. You're like, why would I care about it? What's that even got to do with me, right? It doesn't mean anything, right?
Did you read the article? The astronaut, she came back from after 9 months. She wrote about the article, what she experienced over there. Have you read it or not?
No.
Oh, it's amazing. Because she read Quran over there.
Subhanallah.
And she said, I found everything correct.
Subhanallah.
It's such a long article. Yeah. I will send it to you.
Inshallah. Inshallah. So anyway, so this is what we need to, so then with our kids and with our wives, right? So women by nature are worldly, right? And they're like that. We are worldly in other ways, right? But by nature, women are more worldly. Why is that? Because they are made to be worldly because that's helpful on a biological level for their kids, right? So if you think, for example, a woman who shouldn't care about the dunya, it's not going to be good for her kids. A woman is jealous. It's not going to be good for her kids. She's like, yeah, I'm happy my husband is looking at other women or this. It's not going to be good for her kids. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala created this thing in her that she's cheap by nature. Not on her kids, but cheap. She's very jealous over anything that's not her nest, right? Like anything. Like again, I had rabbits. The males are not territorial, but the women are. You put a man in the female in the doe's area, she's going to attack him because that's how she was built. So women are like that by nature. It's a good thing. They're supposed just like a baby wants food by nature. If the baby didn't want food, you have problems, right? So a child by nature loves the dunya. Women by nature love the dunya, right? They're made to be like that because it's good for the biological thing. But we have to be guides in that. It says الرجال قوامون على النساء. We mentioned part of that guide is this is too much. We don't need this, right? So in Ramadan, it's like you have jewelry that you don't wear, right? She's just like, well, this is important. Like all of it is sentimental value. Every single thing. So that's for my grandma. That's for my great grandma. What you go? How many grandmothers to go back? Right? There's certain things that have sentimental value, right? That's my wedding ring, for crying out loud. I'm not going to give my wedding ring. Well, if I'm not going to go there. That's a bit too far. But there's certain things like you have way too many clothes. Like look at it. You have way too many clothes, right? And so when you at home and when we're like, okay, you're not going to be. So when we apply it to ourselves and apply it to our wives and apply it to our kids, and like this is a mentality. This is how we function. We are building the right way of thinking. That we are not. Who is it? We're going to have the khatam tonight. Al-Hakum al-Takathur, right? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, you have been distracted by takathur. I would need to have more. He's got the iPhones 15. I need 16. He's got 16. I have 16 plus, right? He has this car. I need to have that next car. He has this car, etc. These accessories, right? And so this is not Islamic, right? It's not. There's a hadith, for example, the Prophet was telling some of the Sahabiyat, like, wouldn't it be enough you had silver and just put some saffron on it? It looks like gold, basically, right? So like women can wear gold, but they're not encouraged to wear gold. Right? Women can wear silk, but they're not encouraged to wear silk, right? So it should be, it's like you have, like, sister, what are your clothes? I have clothes to wear in front of my husband. I have clothes for when I have guests, and I have clothes to go to work. And I have clothes when I'm in the house. That's it. You don't need to have 5 wardrobes of clothes, right? Or 50,000 shoes and continue buying more shoes, right? So the apps, these are real dangerous things. Like you just keep buying stuff. This is so you sit down with your wife and say, okay, I learned today that basically when we buy stuff, we end up killing children. She's like, what are you talking about? So yeah, it's like this. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Because that's how it is. If every single Muslim woman was like, that's it, I will sacrifice, I will go under, then every single Muslim man would say, yeah, we'll go under. And then the whole of Saudi Arabia, the whole of Qatar, the whole of the Emirates, they would say, yeah, let's go, let's do this. We're happy to die and suffer for the sake of Gaza. But that's not what they have. Like Saudi Arabia, like the kings are, oh, he's bad, bad, bad. He says he's bad because his people are like that. He's like, my people go and spend their money on brothels in other countries. So what do you think I'm supposed to do? Like all the money is going out. Well, of course I'm going to allow them in my country. And that's the reality. Like that's the reality. I saw in Jordan, you come to Jordan and it's like to party because alcohol is not acceptable in Saudi. So if they're going to buy alcohol outside of the country and weaken the country and one day the fuel is going to run out, that doesn't make any sense. Bring it in the country. If they're going to go to nightclubs in Beirut, bring nightclubs to Saudi Arabia because you want it, right? Hajjaj, there's a story that Hajjaj ibn Yusuf al-Thaqafi was a very tough and horrible ruler. This old lady just saw him in the street and she's like, man, you're such a bad person, right? Why are you so bad? And he said, Kama, just as, which is what? Kama takunu yuwalla alaykum. Just as you shall be, thus shall you be ruled. So you are ruled by a person who is giving you the dunya because you want the dunya. That's simple as that. Like if the whole populace wanted the akhirah, they wouldn't be able to rule them. It doesn't work like that. They would only be able to do that by killing people off. That's the only way you can do it. But if the whole of Pakistan, for example, is Pak, as it's supposed to be, then you wouldn't have corruption. But it's not, right? It's not like that. If the whole of, if the whole of Jordan was the whole of Jordan said, we're willing to die, then the King Abdullah can't do anything. And whoever's trying to destroy them and all these guys, they can't do anything. Right? They'll get through and it doesn't matter, but it's not like that. Everybody's like this. Everybody's into interest because it's more convenient. It allows me to do this, allows me to do that. Everyone's involved in haram for the dunya. And it all starts off with, I can't say no to a cup of coffee. That's where it starts, right? So there was a sheikh, he was asked this question, this sheikh, he had, the student, he had young kids. He said, Sheikh, I want my kids to be mujahideen. So he said, give them a rough life. Like, don't give them stuff because it's not actually useful, right? It's not even useful. Even my friend, he said, as a parent, he said, kids don't actually remember things, they remember events. So you should spend money on events, not on things. So your kid wants an electric dirt bike, $2,000. He's actually not going to remember that. He's going to remember when you went on a bike ride with him, or you went on a trip. You went on a hunting trip to Montana and it's cost $10,000 and you almost got lost on a hilltop and you shot the deer in the foot and the deer tried to attack you and you saw a wolf from far away. Like you remember stuff, right? So spending money on our kids is fairly useless. It doesn't actually, it's not even, spending money on our kids, meaning I'm in a better environment, right? Like one of my friends, he said, I asked him, why are you living in San Ramon? It's expensive. He said, sohbah, company. Like all of my kids' friends are here. These are good kids. I don't really care how much it costs. $4,500 I'll pay it. I don't care. I'll pay that in rent because my kids have good sohbah, good company, right? So things like that, then my kids need to be in a good school. That's different. But spending like, oh, my kid wants this for Eid, they're gonna forget it. $500 on Lego. It's gonna last like 1 day, 2 days, and that's it. They don't actually remember these things. But if you spent the same money on an event, an outing, a hike, a project, I don't know what it was, where you were involved and you spent time, right, that is actually useful. So anyway, the point is giving our kids and our wives things is fairly useless and is actually it results in hubb dunya, which just makes their iman weak, and then they just can't do anything. And it's very difficult, many of my teachers, they don't emphasize this. They say, just enjoy the dunya that's halal and just thank Allah and you won't want the dunya anymore. Other scholars, they're like, no, having the dunya makes you love the dunya. Like if you take it away, suddenly like, right? So imagine, for example, you say, turn off the AC, go and live for 1 month, go and live in an RV with no AC, no TV, no coffee, just bread, water, and some vegetables. Like a lot of people would freak out because it's like their nafs couldn't take it, right? And but that's how the Prophet lived. He lived in a very simple life, and that's what he encouraged for other people to do. Right? So it's a key concept here. And inshallah, we'll find other verses as well. But throughout the Quran, you see it again and again and again. Love of the dunya, right? It's a huge problem. Mm-hmm. So if you look in Surah Taha as well, that comes next. Sayyidina Musa, he goes to Fir'aun. The golden calf. There we go. So a golden calf, the love of the dunya. It's a real thing, but the golden calf in the story of Sayyidina Musa is exactly the thing. The Bani Israel loving the dunya too much. Now they can't do what is right. And then they're told to go and take the promised land, but they love the dunya too much. We don't want to die. But then they can't do it. So then they're cursed. So love of the dunya is what destroys us. Okay, I'm going to go skip way further forward into there's again so many verses of the Quran talk about that, but that was particularly one I wanted to mention. Skip forward into just about.
So on the 19th chapter.
So before 1 second before that. So right, so this is in 75, that is in Qiyamah. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, I swear by the day of judgment, right? Chapter 75, Surah Al-Qiyamah. It says, I do swear by the day of judgment, and I do swear by the self-reproaching soul. Do people think that we cannot reassemble their bones? Yes, indeed, we are most capable of restoring them. Right, and then it goes on and on and on, and it mentions that it mentions the Prophet ﷺ and his keenness for closest to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, cleanest thing, and then it says, but what's the opposite of the Prophet ﷺ? It says, but no, this is verse 20 in Surah 75, Qiyamah. It says, but no, in fact, you love بَلْ تُحِبُّونَ الْعَاجِلَةِ, that you love the fleeting world, right? So what is the vignette of that? Looking at a woman walking down the street. Like it's actually fairly useless, right? It's a fairly useless pleasure because she doesn't like you. And that's what you got. That was it. So like, what's the point? But that's the dunya. Or like, oh, check this thing on TikTok. Like it was fairly useless. Like so, these little things, and then the bigger things, like you love these things that are falling out of your hand, your wealth. Even for example, loving your own health. Like so, you should be as healthy as you can, but not because you value health. Because all of us, we're all rushing to ill health and death. Every single one of us. So what's the point? It's like you have a need, mashallah, brother Zuhur, was it 2 years ago now? You had the knee operation?
Yeah, last year, yeah.
Last year, okay. But it's like, alhamdulillah, we all try and do that, knowing that we're going to be dead tomorrow. Right? So it's kind of a joke in that we're all doing that. It's like, oh, one day this, right? Every single one of us would just from 10 to 25, 30, you're getting stronger, and then you die. So it's a fleeting, it's a joke, right? Shakespeare uses that in Macbeth. He calls it like life is like a tale told by a fool on a stage. Like he's not a good actor, and he just walks up and down the stage making lots of sound with no words because he doesn't know what he's saying anything, and then nobody applauds, and then you die. Like that's it. Like you're not actually that amazing. You didn't achieve that much. You're just a little dot on planet Earth, and then you die. And you're there for a very short amount of time, right? Like grass has been around for 50 million years. That's not even that long. 50 million years is quite short in the history of the world. So this thing, grass, you think that's kind of what is the eternal things of the universe? No, it's not. Right? Bees are older than that. Right? And we've been around for like how long? And we were alive for how long? 80 years maximum. Like, so we're just this little joke. And so you shouldn't value it. You should value what you can turn the little joke into. So you're a little joke that can be turned into ibadah, can turn into shukr, can be turned into fear of Allah, love of Allah. Instances where you do nice things for people, you forgive people, and you talk to people in a nice way. That's all, right? But this is life, right? But they love this fleeting world and neglect the hereafter. They don't care about it, right? So every single time we pick up our phone, بل تؤثرون الحياة الدنيا والآخرة خير وأبقى, right? Love of dunya. The next car you're going to buy, an accessory that you don't need, clothes that you don't need, any of these things. This is not useful, right? So we have to really focus on this thing, because it's we have to see that again. Now looking at Surah Al-Insan, it comes up a lot in these surahs. Excuse me. So it says, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says mockingly in Surah Al-Mursalat. In Surah Al-Mursalat, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says to them, he says, so, eat and enjoy yourselves for a little while, for surely you are truly wicked. Right? Enjoy it, knock yourself out, have fun, because it's not going to last very long. So this mentality, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, eat and drink from. Have as much fun as you can, because this is all you're ever going to get. Right? And so this is not that's not, if somebody told you, for example, I hope you enjoy the food, that's poisoned, you wouldn't enjoy it, would you? There's no enjoyment in it, right? So the sweetness of this life is not in dunya. The sweetness of life is connecting through the dunya to the creator of the dunya. That's the sweetness of life. If you can't connect to Allah with that thing, then what's it doing in your life? So you could have bought the iPhone 14, it would have been totally fine, but you bought iPhone 15. How did it help you? It didn't. So it's just a waste. Surah Al-A'la, trying to think where else. So Takwir talks about all of these things as well. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, when the sun, in Surah Takwir, which is Surah 81, when the sun is put out. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is talking about the idea that Judgment Day, but Judgment Day is also telling us, by the way, every single thing you have is going to come to nothing. So your castle that you built is going to be destroyed. Right? That's a concept. Like, so if you're happy to build it knowing that it's going to be destroyed, that's fine. Right? Because you built it for a reason. This is a defense. This is going to house orphans. This is going to house whatever it is, right? So he says, the sun is put out when the stars fall down, when the mountains are blown away, and then it says, when the pregnant camels are left unattended. What does that mean? This is a pregnant camel that is 10 months pregnant, right? Al-ishar, from the word ashara, right? 10, which means a camel that is about to turn into 2 camels. So imagine if Elon Musk makes the next level of what's it called? What's his car right now? No, the other one. Cybertruck that can reproduce. Right? And so all you have to do is you buy it, and within 2 months it becomes 2. So now you sold one day before it became 2. So that's the whole idea. So it's useful. Or a briefcase of $1 million that will become $2 million in 1 second. So he says on that day, everyone's will be looking at it as it would be like nobody cares about it, because it's worthless now. What is Ethereum when we don't use Ethereum anymore? Nothing. Nobody cares. Right?
It's actually nothing.
Right now?
Ethereum
it's gone?
No, never go anymore.
Anyway, the point is, if you had Bitcoin and then they ban Bitcoin, they'd be like, but I need to change. Like, yeah, it's banned now. But I have all this Bitcoin. It's not going to mean anything. or all these dollars that you can't change into dunya, or dunya that you can't change into akhirah. That's the whole concept. Ethereum that you can't change into dollars, dollars that you can't actually buy anything with. What if you had $1 trillion, but it's in a bank somewhere else and you can't access it? Then you don't have any money.
You
Same.
don't know the pin.
You don't know the pin, right? That was the scenario, right? You don't know the pin.
The Swiss banks are all rich by this thing.
Yeah, I don't know the pin. And then what? And then the money, you have access to the money, but you can't buy happiness with it. You've tried every single drug, you still feel empty. Just empty. Every single thing does it to you. Your child is smiling, feel nothing. You can't sleep. You go to every single doctor, you can't sleep. You just feel empty, right? So there's a thing where the you don't feel pleasure anymore. Okay, just feel miserable. I don't feel, nothing makes you happy. What's the point of money then? So that Allah's telling us, this money that you can't turn into akhirah, that's what it is. It's pointless. If you can't turn into akhirah, it's pointless.
Yeah, but you can get akhirah if you spend the money in the right way.
Exactly. If you spend it in the right way. But every single penny you can, then it's not dunya, it's akhirah.
Akhirah.
But half of what we do is, oh, this is halal, so it's okay. No, it's not. That's called hubb dunya. That's a wrong. I'm not saying it's haram. I'm not saying you can't buy. Like, am I allowed to buy 2 cups of coffee? Yeah. Can I buy a Ferrari? You can do that. But is that Islamic? No. So there's a difference between halal and ethical. Halal is a kind of a fiqh thing, like in the court, could they stop you doing it? I'm not saying you can't do that, but like where does the Ferrari fit in our paradigm? When is it a good idea to buy a Ferrari? I have no idea. It's very difficult to use a Ferrari for anything useful, right? Yes.
What if you buy Ferrari or Pals or stuff for something, for a good deal, or like trying to do good?
Okay, but give me a practical example.
For example, let's say I own a business, but in my business require a nice car because that way I will certain people that I meet, that's how I get the deal done or something like that.
Okay, that makes sense. But what I'm saying, it's quite rare though. It's quite rare, right? So there's so many scenarios where it's quite rare that you actually do that. So if that's the case, fine. Like, I don't care about the car, it's just for the job, fine. Right? Like, I need a pen that works, I need this, I need that. But a lot of the time it's like, this is just, so it's halal, but it's unethical. And that's particularly unethical when you say there was a car for 10,000, you bought one for 15,000 or 20,000. The 10,000 car would have been enough. You could have got a good car, $10,000. You bought a 25,000, $20 or 50,000 or whatever it is. What you could have done with that, right? So you are now in hell and you're like, what I could have done. If I just bought the normal car and given the other money, spent it on something useful, I wouldn't be in hell, right? That's what Prophet he said, save yourself from hellfire with even half of a date. Meaning you could have gone that extra mile and you still had a car that works. It's totally fine, right? I remember when I was buying my first car, I was like stressing, and one of my friends was like, bro, it's like any car that gets you from A to B is fine, right? So it's not falling apart, it's doing its job, etc. It's not a problem. Like, you don't need, I do Uber Black. Okay, obviously you need certain cars for Uber Black, right? It's going to be what, I don't know what kind of 2005.
Escalate, like stuff like that.
Yeah, things like that. And so, like, okay, you have a car like that because that's your job. Like, I literally go and pick up people from the airport and they're going to pay $500, whatever it is, or more. And that's my job, right? But that's there's a totally different thing, right? So that's that example there, mutaffifin.
So basically, don't buy things for showing off.
Don't buy things for showing off. That's totally haram. Yeah. So what happens is the Prophet ﷺ said there's one man who was walking down the street showing off his money, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala open up the earth, and he's still falling now. He's going to be falling to Judgment Day. So flexing is totally haram, right? It's totally Qarun. Oh, if only we had money like his, and then the earth swallows him. They're like, if only we didn't have the money that he had, right? So the default is, is all a test, right? It's a test. So Surah Al-A'la, right? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, Sabbih isma rabbika al-a'la, right? Where is it? But you deniers only prefer the life of this world, right? So when you pick up your phone, when you don't need to pick up your phone, that's what it is. When you buy the phone, you don't need to buy it. When you buy the food, you don't need to eat your food. When you eat more food than you need to. When you talk more than you need to. When any of these things is like you only have a certain time left, when you spoke and said one more word than you needed to, right? Then this is just a waste, right? This is just like, right. So what the Prophet ﷺ says, that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala hates three things for you. Qeel wa qal, chit chat. Kathrat su'al, asking dumb questions. Sheikh, if I was on Mars, do I play east or place northeast? Like, there's no north and east and south, obviously, on Mars, right? You know,
So that might be applicable
one day. So if you're in a fiqh class, yes, but when you ask a facetious question, that's what it is like. Hey, Sheikh, what about this? What about this? What about this? Right? You know, a question. You know, someone asked Imam Abu Hanifa, said, "Can I, when I'm in ihram, can I scratch myself?" He said, "Yes, as long as you don't reach the bone." Like you're asking a dumb question, I'll give you a dumb answer, right? It's like a stupid thing, right? So there's some stupid questions like that. وإضاعة المال, wasting money. Like, why did you buy? Why did you buy a car like that? Why did you buy a house like that? Why did you do these things, right?
What was the first one?
Chit chat. Yeah.
How do you say in Arabic, sir?
قيل وقال. He said. قيل, he said. It was said. قال, he said. Right? And you say, I think in Farsi you say laqlaqa as well.
Yeah.
Laqlaq, you say laqla, yeah. So you say it's ammiya laqlaqa. It's in Fusha. Laqlaqa means is like talking a lot, but they say it in Farsi. You learn a lot of Arabic from Farsi. Right? I learned the word, for example, you say ghira, right? Fulan yaghar ghira. The word is ghayra. And so they say that because they got the real word into Farsi, which should say ghayra, right? Ghayra, but it's ghayra, not ghira. Yeah, exactly. But yeah, so I learn a lot of Farsi.
So these words,
You basically, when you speak Farsi, half of what you're saying is Arabic.
wow.
Yeah.
Wait, but it's like something you wouldn't know.
Just like when you speak
Yeah,
Spanish,
yeah.
half of what you're saying is Arabic, right?
But sometimes I always keep them like, oh, it's very similar, almost right
But
there.
like you wouldn't know though, like
Yeah.
you're speaking first, you wouldn't know, sir.
No, only well,
Sorry,
for
sir.
example, sorry to
No.
cut you
No,
off.
you're good.
In Taraweeh, like sometimes certain words I hear, I'm like, oh, this means this, and I automatically know what he's reading and what. So yes.
Yeah.
Definitely.
So anyway, and then curiosity killed the cat, right? So what's curiosity in Arabic? It's called fudul, right? Fuzul, they say, right? In Farsi, fudul. That means ma yafdul, what is excess, you don't need to know that, right? So the Prophet ﷺ said, "Min husni Islam al-mar'i tarkuhu ma la ya'ni." Of the beauty of a person's Islam is that they don't ask questions about things that aren't relevant to them. They're like, hey, well, how old is that guy? Okay, why do you need to know? I'm just interested, right? That means you're somebody who's tafih. That means you're somebody who has no value, right? Like somebody who's going around asking questions like, what's this? How much is this? How much is this? Like somebody who's like, you don't have any qima to you. You're worthless because you don't have any. Your time is just free, right? You're just there doing nothing. So that's why this thing is mal'oon, because what it is like, oh, I never knew that. And this is what happens. The shaitan gets you by doing things that are very useful, but it's not your number one. So you're reading about, for example, how this word, for example, now Muhammad Shaman goes home. It's like, how did Arabic spread in Afghanistan? And that's a really good thing to do. It's not a waste of time, but it's not important as finishing something else, right? You know what I'm saying? And so the shaitan gets us, particularly righteous people, he gets you to do something really good. Like, you know what? I'm going to do this, but it's not number one. Right? So, for example, he gets you to recite Quran, but you didn't review your old surahs. And that surah you've actually forgotten. And you may be sinful on Judgment Day. And you may be punished on Judgment Day for forgetting that surah. So you could have done something that could have saved you on Judgment Day, and you did something sunnah instead. And you'll think you're patting yourself on the back. Good job. So he got you, right? So these are these fine lines. So there's this person is engaged in the haram dunya, which is obviously preferring the dunya to the akhirah. This person is engaged in the dunya, which is halal, but it's a waste of time. Well, this person is doing something good, but it's not your priority, right? There was a brother, Abu Bakr, not the Imam Abu Bakr, another Abu Bakr from this community. He said, I memorized the Quran in 6 years. And then I started studying fiqh, and I was really good. He's very smart. So my fiqh teacher, he said, you've wasted 4 years of your life. I was like, what are you talking about? I did Quran for 6 years, and that's, he said you should have finished in 2, and that's it. You're a faqih, you're very smart. you could have done fiqh by now, by that time. You could have become a mufti, but you wasted that time. So he was like, you're good, but you could have done better, right? You could have done something else that's a way that Shaitan tricks us. He says, go and do this good thing, and it is a good thing. It is not a haram thing, it's not a waste of time, but you could have done something else that's better. Right?
So basically taking the main priority thing.
Yeah, so you're taking when you say preferring the dunya to the akhirah is the best akhirah to the akhirah. Right? Do you want to do something good or do something very good? Right? So this is the same concept. May Allah forgive us. Inshallah, we'll stop here. But what we wanted to recite today was is that generally speaking, people of the dunya, this is not the Quranic picture, right? So here's a genuine question. If Sayyidina Umar came today and he saw us, would he give us salams? I don't know. You see, he come to our house, look at our house, get a picture of the world, and you say, this is what's happening in Gaza, this is what's happening in Sudan, this is what's happening here, this is your house, this is this. He'd be like, and he doesn't give salams to you. You wouldn't be surprised. You know what I'm saying? Because that's where they were. Right? One of the Salaf, the early Muslims, said, if people saw you, if my teachers saw my students, they wouldn't recognize them as Muslims. I mean, obviously, we're not saying they're not a Muslim, but it's like, oh, I didn't know that was Muslim. Right? Like you meet somebody, her name is Sandra, and no hijab, and no this, and no that. Say, oh, yeah, my dad's Moroccan, I'm Muslim. Okay, I'm sorry. I didn't know, right? I didn't know that you're Muslim, right? Like Muhammad Amin is like shocked. He said, oh yeah, in Muslim weddings we have alcohol. He's like, huh? Muslim weddings? So yeah. So that happens. It's like, oh, whoops. Right? Where does belly dancing come from? Spain? England? America? Or the Middle East? Middle East. Bro. Hashish. It's Arabic, bro. Where does it come from? Right? The Mongols apparently brought it. Right? The Mongols apparently brought it from Central Asia, but then it became a thing. Right? Go to Yemen, qat. These people just sitting there chewing qat for like 4 hours, 5 hours a day. It's like, where is your productivity? How is this the way of the Muslims? You're supposed to wake up early and work hard and have rizq and do things. Like, what are you doing? Wasting your life. You are less productive than anybody else. Would Sayyidina Umar give salams to them? Would he recognize them as Muslims? I don't know. So this is the key thing. Like if the Prophet came to our house, what would he think of us? The way that we live, the way that we function, the way that we do, our modus operandi, like how do we function? How do we choose what we do? He might not think that we're Muslims until we say, no, I'm a Muslim. I heard about you and I believe in you. So inshallah. Okay. Or he'll say, oh yeah, I know you guys. You're Ahl Kaba'ir. Yes, it's okay. He'll know us as Ahl Kaba'ir, the people of major sins that he's going to make dua for on Judgment Day. He's like, you're supposed to go to hell, but inshallah, I'm making dua for you. It's like, okay, alhamdulillah. Right? But that shouldn't be the case, right? We don't want to be Ahl Kaba'ir. We want to be the people who say, Ya Rasulullah, like what the Prophet say, the Prophet he's on Judgment Day, he's going to be at the pool and waiting for his people. And then there'll be certain people that will come there and they'll be pushed away. And the Prophet will say, come. And they'll say, no, these people are pushed away. Why? Because you don't know what they did after you. How did they change the deen? Right? So this is the thing, it's like, the Prophet said, here's a good example, just a very important thing. Who's seen people roll up their trousers when they pray? Before they pray, they roll up their trousers. Why do they do that? Because of the hadith. What does the hadith say? The Prophet said, the izratul mu'min ila nisf as-saq. He said the way that you wear your thobe, well not your thobe, is the izar underneath, is to half of the shin. He says there's nothing wrong between this and this. And he says anything below this is in the hellfire. Why? Because it costs money. Every single inch of cloth costs money. Why did you have extra clothes? So now you see all these people coming to the masjid and they roll their trousers up and before they pray. And he came in what? In a Porsche. Can you see? Like, where's the deen? Like the point is, why do you have? So you came and worshipped Allah, but you came in a way you dressed as the kubara, you dressed as like the wealthy people. That's not how you worship Allah. So, but it's okay to spend $100,000 on a car and drive it to the masjid and spend, I don't know what you want on fuel, right? You see this huge car and you're spending a ridiculous amount of fuel and it's okay to pray. Like you drove that to Jummah and you expect your prayer to be accepted while you're burning a hole in the ozone layer for no reason. right? Can you see where like the aql, there's no aql, right? And then you say, oh brother, your trousers are thick, you know? So I'm not trying to say yes or no about the trousers. That's a fiqh issue. We respect people who say no, you can't have your trousers be. I think it's a real fiqh issue. Okay, but what the whole rule, the spirit of it is, why do you have excess cloth that costs more? Right? Cloth used to be very expensive before Industrial Revolution, right? So you say like people, they used to just like people rob people for their shoes today. They'll rob you for your clothes, right? A bandit would come and take all your clothes because it's expensive. Maybe your clothes would cost $500. So now you're wearing a thobe that could have cost $200 and you bought it for $300 instead. Why? And now the Prophet ﷺ saying is your prayer is not accepted. You can't do like that because you have excess, right? This is the mentality, right? And then it's Sahabiyat. They said, "Can we have it?" The Prophet ﷺ said, "Yes, you can have it a little bit longer because So it was an issue. It's not like a small thing. But so that whole mentality, when we see people come to the masjid, that is, and the fact that we don't understand it means where we are, like we don't even understand our own deen, right? We don't even understand our own deen, right? So there's a joke, it tells us the same thing, where there's this guy, he says, a sheikh, I did something really bad, and now this girl's pregnant. So then the sheikh's like, bro, why didn't you use contraception? He says, but I thought it was makruh. So so he has no understanding of the deen, right? He has no understanding of the deen. Like, what does the deen actually say, right? Like, what are we even talking about? Yeah, it's like random. Like you're not actually like what earth's going on, right? So this mentality of this thing is like, okay, why is it you roll your trousers up because you're saying, oh Allah, I'm trying to hide the fact that I have excess. Right? And this is wrong. So what about everything else in your house? Right? This coffee that costs $50, it's a particular one for like, you don't need $50 coffee, right? Unless you have it for your guest. Your dad particularly likes this coffee and you bought it specifically from this particular shop because when he comes, he really likes it. Okay. Honoring your dad, a particular person wants something as a guest. But otherwise, for yourself, this kind of mentality, like, right, I wanted it, I bought it, I had the money for it. That's not your money because that money should be going to other things. Like it's not your money. There's a million things they're supposed to be going to. Got Afghanistan, a million things is going on for, right? In Afghanistan, it's like again, like how was it Palestine as well, right? You see some houses, like big houses in Palestine. It's like it's like how can you have a big house like I felt like really bad. I can remember like hearing Gaza going off. Like this is a long time ago. Like you could hear it in Amman, and it's like nobody's doing anything. Like people are just fine, right? Pakistan, like super wealthy, super poor. It's like that's not acceptable. Prophet said he's not a believer who eats his full while his neighbor is hungry. It's like that's Pakistan, that's Jordan, that's Nigeria, that's every Muslim country. Like there's no deen, right? There's just no deen, right? And so it all comes to, can you say no to a cup of coffee?
We hold the deen according to us.
Yeah.
What suits us, we use that one.
Yeah. May Allah forgive us all, right? And so
video in which a Muslim person neighbor lady came to his house with a bottle of champagne to celebrate Ramadan.
Yeah.
He said, "Oh, I don't drink in Ramadan. You came to my home with the champagne on the Christmas Eve, so I respect,
But
so Ramadan he don't drink, but
yeah, he's like, oh, it's okay. You could after Ramadan you could drink this. Basically exposing the person like, hey, I know you drink with me. That's what I'm giving because she wouldn't bring him alcohol knowing that you're Muslim, but because that person did drink with that person, so now he's fasting because Ramadan.
Yeah, or what is it? Is don't wear hijab because if you start wearing hijab, you won't be able to drink anymore.
Yeah.
like in Iran, my nephew was there, so he said a person next to him, he was drinking wine, and he said, "No, pork is haram. Pork is haram, but wine is okay."
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so this is these kind of basic things, and so key concept from the Quran is love of the dunya and having lots of excess is not right, particularly when the world is in tears and bleeding and people need things done. So the question is, so we don't have excess, we stick within our darura or haja. These are the things that I absolutely have to have, or it's going to be very difficult for my family if I don't have these things. My wife's like, I'm sorry, You can't get rid of the fridge. That's like, you can't do that. You can't not have an oven. I can't, like, I need some basic things like this. That pillow is actually hurting my, it's like no more bed. It's like, well, it's very difficult to sleep on the floor. You're gonna have back issues. So your hajiyat, like things that if you didn't have it, life would become very hard, right? But then there's the tahsiniyat, things that would just make life easier and be nicer, right? And you're like, why do you have a fridge that costs that much money? Why did you have this? Why do you have that? All these things, like, this is just silly, right? The fridge that talks to you, right?
Yeah.
Right? So Sayyidina Umar will give salams to the fridge, and give salams to you, right? And he'd be like,
The AI ones now.
yeah, it's like an AI fridge, like you don't need.
For everything.
Yeah, and it pre-orders things from Amazon for you,
Yes.
right? Because it knows the milk is running out or whatever. So it's kind of like, it's like you don't, there's a lot of things we don't need, and it's, and we just need to focus on the kafaf. Do I have enough money to hold back harm? Yes. But then after that, where in the world should I put my money? These orphans, this issue, invest in, are you going to do local da'wah? Are you going to do this? That's the question, right? Is it A or not whether I'm going to spend, is where I'm going to spend the money, right? That's the issue. May Allah forgive us all. Subhanallah wa bihamdik, ashhadu an la ilaha illa ant, nastaghfiruka wa natubu ilayk.
Yeah, I'm just